Hi everybody, welcome back to my fitness drive. I'm TJ, your personal trainer in training, and today we are diving right back into our beginner boxer series. Specifically, we'll be covering the uppercuts. So let's get right into it. All right, so before we begin, I just want to make very clear that if you haven't watched yet already the first two videos covering the jab and crosses and the hooks, please go back and watch those videos. This video is going to assume that those two videos were already watched, so we will be glossing over some of the basics like how to properly form a fist and how to properly pivot. So again, just go back and watch those videos. They will be the featured videos at the end of this one, so please feel free to fast forward to the end to be taken there. But yeah, let's get into it. All right, so before we get into throwing the uppercuts, a few things that we need to note. Our lower body is going to do exactly the same thing as it was doing when we were throwing our hooks and also when we're throwing our crosses. So for me, since I'm right hand dominant, my lead leg is gonna be my left leg facing 12. My rear leg is my right leg, and that's gonna be facing 3 o'clock. And so when I'm throwing my uppercuts, I'm pivoting, reset, pivoting, reset, pivoting, reset, pivoting, reset. Now that we got some of the basic pivoting motions out of the way, let's go into the actual throwing motion with our arms. So when we're throwing an uppercut, I'm going to teach you the exact same way my coach taught me. And that is to almost make it seem like you're doing a scooping motion with your arm, okay? Like you're scooping ice cream. So you're gonna come from your face and you're going to scoop up and then back. So again, starting from the face, you're scooping up and you're back. So obviously we're not throwing our uppercuts with our palms open like this, right? Everything's gonna be tight fisted. So when we throw our uppercut, we're gonna be tight fisted and we're gonna do the same scooping motion and reset. Scoop and reset, okay? So now a few things to note when you're throwing your uppercut and connecting the hit. Connect, as always, with the flat side of your fist. You're not connecting with the back knuckles. You're not connecting with your forward knuckles. The reason why is because you can severely injure yourself. You can severely injure your knuckles, you can injure your wrist. So if you're throwing your uppercut, make sure your wrist is straight. It's not coming in, it's not going out. Because what's gonna happen is if you throw an uppercut and your fist is inward, if you connect with your back row knuckles, that force can cause it to snap back. So you can cause serious injury to your wrist and to your knuckles. And the same thing, if you're throwing your uppercut with your fist facing out, you can connect with this side and really injure your wrist and part of your forearm. So you want to make sure you're using proper form. When you throw your uppercut, you're scooping and you're connecting straight. Your fist isn't here, your fist isn't here. So again, you connect, it's straight, you come back, reset. Scoop, straight, come back, reset. I would recommend that you invest in a good pair of hand wraps or a very thick boxing glove that has support for your wrist. So that way you get used to the motion, you get used to the impact, and you protect yourself. Do not start off barehanded because you can cause some serious injury to your wrist. Now that we got some of the basic stuff out of the way, let's actually work on putting it together and going over the form. So when we throw our uppercut, again, lead leg is at 12, right leg is at 3, or if you're left-handed, lead leg is at 12, left leg is at 9, okay? So we're here in our boxer stance. Let me kind of turn a little bit so you can see my face. We're here in our boxer stance. And when we throw our uppercut, we're gonna throw from our face. What does that mean? That means we start here, we end here. So our uppercut should come from our face, connect with our opponent, and when we reset, we're back here. So our uppercut is not starting from Timbuktu, swooping down for a round trip, and then coming back. We're not doing that. We're not winding up our fists to throw an uppercut. Our uppercut starts here. Our power comes from our hips. We connect, come back. Drive the force from your hips, connect, and come back. Now, it's important to be in control of your balance, especially when you're throwing your uppercut. Because the power is coming from your hips, it's very easy to throw too much power and become imbalanced where you're kind of leaning over. You don't want that. You want your movements to be tight. You want your movements to be controlled. Shoulders relaxed, back straight, guard up, uppercut, pivot, and everything should be straight. You should be straight. You should feel like you're centered, like your center of gravity is balanced, right? Your fist isn't facing in, your fist isn't facing out. It's connecting directly to your opponent. Your palm should be facing you, not flexing inward towards you. So it's facing you, and then you reset. So again, back. We're not here, and we're not here. Okay? So tight, back, tight, back, tight, back, tight, back, tight, back. All right, so again, from the front, that way you get a better view. So guard up, I'm in my boxer stance. When I throw my uppercut, I start from my face, come down, scoop, connect, reset back. Again, back, again, back. As you can see, every time I'm doing it, I'm staying straight, okay? So again, you're not throwing your body this way. You see how my body's kind of leaning this way? We're not doing this. You want to be straight. And when I say straight, let me clarify. You want your scooping to come up and your forearm should be in line with your body. Your forearm should not be coming across to the side. The chin's not over here. They're here, okay? You shouldn't throw your uppercut this way. You shouldn't throw your uppercut that way. Keep everything centered, straight and in line. Now, one tip that I can share that really helped me when I first started was to follow up your uppercut with the opposite hand hook. Why? Because if you throw with too much force or you're not throwing properly, if you were to immediately try to follow it up with a, like let's say in my example with a left hook, you're gonna be imbalanced. It's going to be really hard to connect a hook because you're here and all your force is this way, and now you have to immediately draw force to come the opposite way. It's going to feel off. You're gonna be like, whoa, whoa, you know? Everything should feel natural. So if I'm throwing a rear uppercut, then my lead hook should come right after and it should be in control. I should not feel like my center of gravity is compromised. I should not feel I'm imbalanced or that I'm applying too much force and weight one way or the other. Everything should be smooth. Same thing with the opposite side. So lead uppercut into rear hook. 1, 2, 1, 2. I'm not, falling all over the place. Everything is controlled. All right, so let me just do a few from the front so that way you have a better visual. So I'm in my boxer stance, and when I throw my uppercut, I'm starting from my face. I draw power from my hip. I come under, I connect up. My fist is straight, it's not forward, it's not backward, it's straight. It's in line with my forearm, which is in line with the rest of my body. So my center of gravity is even. I'm balanced. I'm not swinging this way. I'm not swinging this way. And then I reset. So one more time. Reset. Uppercut, reset. Uppercut, reset. Let's do the same, but on the opposite arm. So for me, it's my lead arm, which is my left arm. Same rules apply. Okay, so I'm here, I'm gonna throw my uppercut for my face, I'm gonna come back, pivot, back. Now you're gonna notice that when I'm throwing my uppercuts, I'm not throwing and leaning one way or the other. When you're starting off, it's very easy to over pivot and apply too much power to where you're now in this situation where you're just kind of leaning over, right? So you might think you've drawn a lot of power, but what you've really done is compromised your defense and balance. So if somebody were to hit you, well, now you're just gonna fall over, right? Because you're already heading in that direction in the first place. Whereas if you're trying to follow up an attack with, like, let's say a right hook, well, from this position, you're gonna have to quickly reset and come back. But even when you do that, your form is compromised. You're not gonna be able to reset and come back smoothly. Before that point, you might already get knocked out. Now, everything we discussed so far are just the standard hooks if you were to hook someone to their chin. But let's say you're trying to aim lower, right? So you're aiming for the rib cage. Everything is still the same. The only thing that's going to be different is that when you throw your hook, instead of coming under and having your fist face you, you're going to come under, and it's almost like, imagine your arm is a piston, like a shotgun. You're gonna drive that into the rib cage, right? So my rib cage is here. You're aiming for the rib cage, under the rib cage here. Okay, so you uppercut, boom. Same rules apply. The only thing different is that your angle is changed. So instead of being here, you're here. But my fist isn't flexed in, it's not flexed out either. It's still straight. So I'm here, I uppercut toward the rib cage, bring it back. Uppercut toward the rib cage, bring it back. Rib cage, wow. Uppercut toward the rib cage, uppercut to the rib cage. So now let's take a look at some beginner combinations that you can throw with your uppercuts. The first combination is just a simple rear uppercut, lead uppercut, rear uppercut. So again, rear uppercut, lead uppercut, rear uppercut. Notice that when I'm throwing my uppercut, I'm resetting as I'm throwing the next uppercut. Okay, so uppercut, uppercut, uppercut. So a simple combination that you can throw using your uppercuts would be to do a jab cross, lead hook, lead uppercut. Okay, so that's gonna look like this. So you're jabbing, crossing, lead hook, reset, lead uppercut, reset. Jab, cross, lead hook, reset, lead uppercut, reset. So the next combination you can learn is what we call climbing the ladder. And that's a series of 3 uppercuts ending off with a hook and a cross. So the reason why it's called climbing the ladder is because you're gonna start with your rear hook, aiming at the rib, and then you're gonna come next with your lead uppercut higher up on the rib until you connect with your third uppercut, which goes back to your rear uppercut. That should connect with your opponent's chin, and then you end it off with a hook cross. So what that looks like is uppercut, rib, uppercut higher on the rib, uppercut, chin, hook, cross. Okay, so again, we start low at the rib, higher up on the rib, higher up at the chin, maintain with your hook at the chin, and then cross at the chin. So body, body, head, head, head. Body, body, head, head, head. Another combination you could do for practice, I wouldn't say it would be something you would do in boxing, but for practice is throw every punch one time. Jab, cross, lead hook, rear hook, lead uppercut, rear uppercut. Okay, that would be good for you to get used to maintaining your balance while resetting. So when you throw your jab into cross, you should be okay. But then when you go from cross to hook, that's gonna be from one pivot to another pivot, and then from hook to rear hook, that's gonna be another pivot to another pivot, and then from rear hook to lead uppercut, that's a pivot into another pivot, and then from lead uppercut to rear uppercut, that's a pivot to a pivot. So in the beginning, it can feel a little unnatural when you go from one pivot to another pivot because you're just doing this, right? You're just really pivoting, but your body is doing other things. From the top part of your body, you're going here, 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 but your lower body is doing the same motion. So it might take a second to feel coordinated with your movements when one half of your body is doing the same motion, but your upper half is doing something completely different, okay? So just be patient with yourself and just practice that. Jab, cross, pivot, 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 pivot. Jab, cross, pivot, 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 pivot. If you struggle with that, be patient with yourself. Now that you're familiar with how to throw all of the 6 basic punches, I would recommend practice throwing and resetting from the same side because it's really easy to go from left to right and right to left, but you're not always going to be in a situation where you can throw on the opposite arm every time. So aside from just throwing jab, cross, hook, hook, uppercut, uppercut, you might want to just do all left side punches first and then all right side and vice versa. So jab, reset, hook, reset, uppercut, reset, cross, reset, hook, reset, uppercut, reset. And just practice that. So that way you get used to the feeling of resetting, because resetting is very important when you need to get yourself out of a compromised situation and pull yourself back into a neutral position. You can throw any punch from a neutral position, but you cannot throw every punch from a compromised position, right? All right, so that's really all that we have to cover today for the uppercuts. Again, I know the video did not really dive deep into how to pivot and how to properly form a fist. Please go back and watch the first 2 videos, which would be the beginner boxer jab cross video and the beginner hooks. Those videos are going to cover some of the basics in more detail. But to recap on what we covered today, when we're throwing our uppercuts, remember, it's like an ice cream motion. You're scooping with your punches. Your fist isn't flexing in, it's not flexing out. You want to connect, as with any punch, with the flat side of your fist. Again, connecting with the knuckles, whether that's the front set of knuckles or the back set of knuckles, can cause serious injury to your wrist, and you absolutely want to avoid that. The very first time I threw an uppercut, I landed with the back wrist, or the back knuckle, and my wrist popped. Now, thankfully, I didn't break anything. Nothing was fractured, but it did pop, and I was in a lot of pain for maybe about a week and a half before I was able to throw my punch. And needless to say, I was a little hesitant to throw my punches because I was just afraid that I was going to injure myself again. So don't put yourself in that situation. I'm telling you right now, connect with the flat side. Make sure that you're driving the force from your hip, but that you are 100% flat. I recommend that when you're doing your uppercuts, when you're practicing them, don't do them barehanded. Always have a boxing glove on, or at least some hand wraps to support your wrist. You really want, while you're starting off, you really want to have that support on your wrist. And we're always throwing from our face. So we're here, we're driving, we're connecting, okay? We're not bringing our fist all the way back this way. We're not winding up any uppercuts. It's all tight and controlled and quick. That's it. Snappy punches, and you don't get snappy punches when you have to bring it back from here. The next time we meet, we're going to be getting into some beginner jump roping. Jump roping and boxing go hand in hand. You need to be light on your feet when you're boxing, and jump roping is going to help with that. Jump roping is an entirely different beast on its own. You can do so much with that. It's great cardio, it's fun to do, and it helps with boxing. There's so many benefits to jump roping. So yeah, we're gonna do a few videos of jump roping, and then from there, we'll jump back into boxing, and we'll cover some basic movement like some slips, some rolls, and how to move at least from left to right when we're throwing some of our basic punches. So yeah, be ready for that. Be ready for that later down the line. Yeah, so if you like what I'm doing, I would really appreciate a like and share with friends and family. That would mean a lot to me. But yeah, until next time, stay safe, be active, and I will catch you next time on My Fitness Drive.